So, did you have a good summer?
I did. Did you have a good summer?
I had a great summer. It was busy. We have a lot of new employees, as we will be introducing, so it was busy but fun. I spent a lot of time at work taking out of my personnel file all of the bad things that John put in over last year.
That sounds problematic, but go ahead.
It took a long time.
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
did.
like,
Yeah,
oh
it did.
man, he seems to document a little too much. I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm
actually,
struggling with that.
Yeah,
so.
that wasn't even John. That was Rogers, that documentation.
You
but
know,
yeah,
I
okay.
thought that looked familiar.
yeah,
So, all
okay.
right. Well, it's all good. I'm starting a clean year.
Yeah, okay.
Clean year, clean slate.
And we already have something to document, so there you go.
Always a learning opportunity.
Absolutely,
Always a learning
absolutely.
opportunity.
All right.
So, should we introduce
Let's
some
introduce
new...
the many, many new employees that we have here today.
And this is since our last college day. 'Cause
Yes.
you're going to go, I've seen these people. They're
Yep.
not new. But
they're
it's
new.
since they're new.
Yep.
Until they're announced here.
Yes.
They're not really real.
Yes, exactly.
And when we pronounce their name wrong,
Yeah. That's just all bad. That goes in your personnel file too.
all right. So we've got some academic affairs folks, and we have Michelle Blum. She's an instructor, adult education.
And we have Chad Dahl, learner support and transition. Oh, wait, Chad's over there. He's coming up later. Yeah, sorry about that. We have James Bushman, instructor, digital media.
Christopher Dunn, instructor, welding.
And my favorite, Tim Ferrier, instructor, accounting. Yes! Woo! Accounting. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Take that, HR.
Take that, HR. Well,
Yeah.
this is a phone a friend for Zach, because I'm not going to get this pronounced right. Zach Gogish is our greenhouse grower. Sorry, Zach.
Alan Heineck, instructor, HVACR.
Caitlin Junk, instructor, medical administrative professional.
Carly Keller, administrative assistant, Black River Falls.
Colleen Kenyon, instructor, nursing. This will be a recurring theme, instructor, nursing.
Yes. Brianna Miller, administrative assistant, Mauston.
Cheryl Moore, instructor, nursing.
Nursing, all right. Amy Petit, instructor, speech.
Allison Prangy, instructor, human services associate.
Ellen Range, student learning librarian, Learning Commons.
Danielle Ryan, instructor, nursing.
Drew Sheeler, instructor, adult education.
Teresa Sweet, instructor, nursing. I'm good at saying the same thing over and over again. I have 6-year-olds.
Hey, I get one. Sandra Thill, instructor, nursing.
Peggy Vogel, faculty developer.
Seems like Peggy's been here a long year.
Peggy's been here about 4 or 5 years.
I think
but
so,
she,
yeah.
it was that probation period.
Yeah, that's
She,
pretty rough. Good job, Peggy. You made
Yeah,
it past that.
yeah,
Way
good
to
job,
go.
good job,
Woo-hoo.
Peggy.
Leslie Weber, instructor, occupational therapy assistant.
And we have a few not pictured. Jacob Bellinger, program accreditation and compliance coordinator. Heather Barra, instructor, nursing. Alex Bregeman, teacher's assistant, youth build. Laura Butner, clinical simulation specialist. David Karaman, instructor, electrical engineering technician. Laura Hauser, executive assistant to VP of academic affairs. Jackie Unseth, admin assistant at Viroqua. Linda Van Sistine Yost, student learning librarian. And Colin Walsh, project proven coordinator. We're not even done yet.
Yeah.
We're not even done yet.
And Jackie Kettner
might-
Sieber for not messing any of that up.
I think I
That
did
was
okay
nice.
on that
You did
one.
awesome.
Thank you very much.
Very
Thank
well
you.
done.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, student service and engagement. We have Katie Griffin, hospitality assistant. Woo!
Look at Katie's got a
Katie,
fan
I
club.
know,
Way to
former
go,
student government.
Way
I like
to go,
it. I like
Katie.
it.
That's
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yes.
I mean, makes everybody else feel bad,
Yeah,
but it's
really,
all right,
kinda
Katie.
does.
Don't worry
Kinda
about
does.
it. Don't worry about
No,
it, Katie.
yeah,
It's
here's
not
everybody
you.
else. Yeah, okay.
Haley Hansen, career coach. Now you're all feeling bad. You got to clap a little
Yeah,
harder.
a little harder.
All right, good
Haley
job.
Hidzinski, real-time captionist. Woo!
Darcy McCulson, career coach, recruitment.
Courtney Olson, college advisor, transfer focus.
Lauren Jankowski, non-clinical case manager. I might have that department wrong.
David Vicaris, veteran benefit coordinator.
And not pictured, Eva Byrne. Did I do that right, Eva? Byrne. Sandy Ernst, Claire Legault, and Lindsay McLeod.
And saving the best for last, we have finance and operations. Dan Britton, welding trainer, BIS. Woo!
Alex Rodriguez, intramural sports and recreation coordinator.
And not pictured, Ku Xiong, Lunda Center HR training assistant, formerly from HR. And Emily Schwartz, registered dietitian nutritionist.
Let's give it one more round for all of our new employees.
Roger.
And we're going to turn it over to Jackie from the foundation.
Jackie.
All the Jackies have to come up.
Yes, that's right.
That's
Every
part of
Jackie.
college days.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Schreiner, the Development Officer at Westerns Foundation. I'm proud to share that together, last year we raised $52,788 during the employee campaign. That's equal to 105 scholarships for students. That's awesome. Many also stepped up by contributing to Chad Dull's Fast Fund Matching Dollar Challenge. You contributed $5,735. I thought he would like this. Looks pretty good, huh? You contributed $5,735 to put instant funds into the hands of instructors for student emergencies like glasses to see, a much-needed medical prescription, and even just a safe place to sleep for the night. Thank you to the Fast Fund donors, and thank you to Chad. Now, you may be wondering how your gifts contributed to the overall impact the foundation has on our students. Thanks to you, we were able to award 1,087 scholarships by providing students with $545,162 to support their education just last year. That's great. Just think of the lives forever changed. We want to persist and transform the lives for the future students by offering scholarships and providing for emergencies for every student every day. Your gifts, both personal and monetary, are essential to the success of our students. To understand the difference your donation makes, let's listen to a few comments from students who received foundation support.
Thank you so much for your generous donation in making my education possible. Throughout my life, I was told I would never be able to afford college and that it wasn't possible for me. However, because of your gift, I'm able to stay in school this semester to finish and become the first person in my family to graduate from college. Thank you for your encouragement and this opportunity to better my future. I will never forget your gift when I needed it the most.
I'm a single mother of two amazing young boys, one of whom is autistic. His therapists have a huge impact in our lives and inspired me to go back to school for occupational therapy. It's not easy being a single parent, working and going back to school, but your support has helped me immensely in keeping my family together. I will succeed and have a career because of people like you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thanks to you, I just finished and passed all my GED tests. I had the potential to graduate with my class, but during my senior year, I hit a rough patch. My mom was in the hospital for a while, so I had to stay home and help. Then when I got back, I was so far behind, I lost all hope in myself. I needed to get back on track as fast as possible so I could attend college like the rest of my friends and be able to achieve the goals I have. My family doesn't have much money, and paying for the GED was too much for us, which is why I'm very grateful that I was able to get a scholarship because of people like you. Now that I have my GED, I can attend college and feel hopeful once again. Thank you so much.
Let's continue to offer the hope for every student every day. I ask you to join your coworkers and me by making a contribution to help students. Your gift is a reflection of all the work you do here at Western, offering students encouragement, improving their lives, and making our community a better place to live and work. There are multiple ways to make your tax-deductible gift. Pledge forms are on your chairs today. Simply fill one out and return it to the box in the atrium where you'll find a foundation team member. Pledge cards will also be in your Western mailboxes this week to return by November 1st. Another option is to visit the Foundation's website and click the Give Now button. You can choose your impact area by designating your gift towards your Western interest. An added way to give this year and be included in the campaign is to donate a non-perishable item to the Cavalier Cupboard. Just contact the cupboard by email or phone and let them know that you contributed, or you can mark the box on your pledge card saying you gave an item and return that pledge card to the Foundation. Please feel free to contact the Foundation if you have any questions, and we look forward to partnering with you to impact the future for every student, every day at Western. Thank you.
Well, good morning. Welcome to College Day. Jackie Schreiner and the Foundation team, they left out, I think, a piece that was pretty important. So my thank you for the work that they're doing. And I really appreciate you applauding that work. If we go back to 2015, the number was 200, I have it right down here, 279,000. Today you just saw 545,000. That's a short period of time to double that number. That scholarship number was 434. You saw 1,087, I think is what the number was up there. Major impact, and I truly appreciate the work of the Foundation. You talked about starting. I'm not going to arm twist, but 50 cents a paycheck is a way to start. So please consider giving. But wow, what great work with that $50,000 and 100 opportunities, I think that you said, so thank you. To Jackie and Wade, I just got to say thank you for the start this morning. Thanks for the great opening. I think you guys are like the dynamic duo, you know. Maybe it's Batman and Robin or Bert and Ernie. Donnie and Marie, Thelma and Louise, Starsky and Hutch. Some people don't know who that is in here. I know my hair is gray. Hall and Oates, Laverne and Shirley. I don't know, maybe Skipper and Gilligan. Which one is Gilligan? Or maybe it's like fine and refined food pairing, you know, peanut butter and jelly, pancakes and syrup, mashed potatoes and gravy, ham and cheese, bacon and eggs, spaghetti and meatballs. Which one's the meatball? I don't know. But sincerely, thank you both. Jackie, thank you for what you do to put this together, though, for all of us. These are really, really important days for us. And you order in good weather, and you usually get what you want. But this is a great day, and thank you for putting all the work together to make this happen. To the new staff, I mean, that was a lot of new staff, and we truly are welcome you here. It was a big hiring season. I'm just honored to be here with all of you and to welcome you all to Western. I want to start really with a moment of silence. We have two reasons. Let me give me two reasons. We have some folks in the Western family that are going through some very difficult health problems right now, and I'd like to give a little time to think about them. And the second one is I want to pause to recognize that this property where Western is on is the native lands of the Ho-Chunk Nation, and I'm just so honored to be able to have this great place to live and to work and to play. And so if we could take a moment of silence. Thank you. I usually do something about how I spent my summer vacation. But this summer was really a blur. It was a good kind of blur, but in my personal life and my family, we just had some real blessed news. I became a grandfather in June, and I got to say, this is my grandson Josh. I call him Ace, and I have to say, it's been an amazing summer, but nothing counts. All the things we did, nothing feels like becoming a grandfather. And our daughter Sarah and her husband are doing really, really well. Ace started out a little tough. He spent 10 days in the NICU. He had some respiratory problems. I was pretty worried about him. I mean, when you hold him that first time, you like fall in love instantly. But I'll tell you what, we're blessed with great care, and he is doing fantastic. He's, 9 weeks old and like 18 pounds. He's really a big kid. He's doing fine. I think he's doing fine. There's some grandparents in this room. Raise your hand if you think being a grandparent's pretty cool. Yeah, it really is. I'll tell you, it's so much easier than the parent part. Whew. All right, next up. Whoops, another picture. I forgot. I don't know how that happened. I only have two, so you don't have to worry. But my wife is a cyclist. I mean, she's so fit, and so she gets me out on the bike. But we kayaked, hiked, biked. We vacationed in the Ozark. We camp almost every weekend. That's just what we love to do. But honestly, for me, looking at that picture, the summer was all about Ace. And I love that little guy. I want to do a shout out quickly to the board. And we have a couple board members here. But this picture, if you look on here, and I'll come to that, this has Dan Hansen on it. Dan Hansen did retire off the board after 12 years. I appreciate his service. I'd like to introduce in the next slide our new board member, Kara Berghaus. She's not able to be here today. Her daughter starts at UW-Madison today, so it's that big day to be down there. And if you've ever had to drop a kid off at a dorm, and we're doing ours on Sunday, it's a machine, right? They're unloading you, they're packing you, and she's having that day today. But we welcome her to the board. I believe we have two board members. I only saw one. Two said they were coming. Ed Lukasik, are you here today? Ed Lukasik is here. Thank you. Dennis True is here. I need to publicly thank them. Honestly, a lot of the work we talk about, the things that we completed, the investments, what we borrowed to put and do these great buildings, that goes to the board. So thank you so much for your service. I'm going to move really fast today. I got what I call some great wows. I got to start with the first one. It's 2%. This is truly a wow, and I have a lot of wows, but this is a biggie. From last year to this date, our FTEs are up 2.2%. 2.2%. Now, we haven't been shoving FTE down your throat. We've been just doing the right work on retention and recruitment. That's the work. That goes to the work of the people in this room. It goes to the work of us talking to students about getting closer to 15 credits than being closer to 9. Because we know any student in an associate degree that goes over 3 years is probably not going to finish. That's the research. That's the facts. And so the closer we get them, the better that we can do. And we've been doing that work. This has just been a phenomenal year. There are less people in the state right now that are looking for higher education. That's just a fact. There are less people that are looking for higher education. I want to talk about this slide a little bit. This is really difficult to read, so I did some arrows on it. This is the 16 technical colleges. This is the current state data. It's unofficial until October when they finish it. Western is third in growth in the entire state at 2.2%. But if you look at the FTEs, we're actually second in the state, only behind Milwaukee. And Milwaukee had a $2 million gift to start a Promise program for adults. It's a really great program, but their FTEs, over 100, are attributed to that. So I think we're number one in the state. But I feel really good about the work I do. And if you look how tough this market is, and maybe you don't care about this, but I do. Having full programs is what it's all about for our employers. But if you look at some of the numbers on there that are very unfortunate, honestly, this is really a difficult value proposition for some of these colleges. That's tough. I feel really good about the Western, the work we're doing. I feel good about your work. And thank you for helping us be better than CVTC. Please don't tell my friends there that I said that. K-12, we just had several successful initiatives this year working with young folks. I want to shout out a few really good things that I think are going on. I mean, from all of our coaches, our K-12 staff, our instructors, all the leaders that have been putting in the plans, all the staff that get all the details right. We're doing some pretty cool stuff. Our C-Tech starts in the integrated tech, and what that is it's a pilot with La Crosse Logan and Central, and they're bringing their tech ed teachers here, and they're teaching on the 4th floor of the integrated tech building, which is what we designed that floor for. And they'll be offering pre-engineering courses, and they work with our faculty, and we'll have those students on this campus every single day, which I hope then they all come here. That's probably part of the work. But we're doing all kinds of cool stuff. We've got the new academy starting. We have, let me see, we did Nitro X, Bionics Day. We've had EMT academies. We've had nursing assistant around the district. We've had manufacturing day. We've had hero day. And I got a shout out for transcripted credit. Last year I was up here and I said we had 8,000 transcripted credit students. That was amazing. 8,000 transcripted credits. That's huge. This year, 11,300. 11,300 students got credit at Western while they're in high school. That's all pathway work. That's all pathway work. It's important work. And some will say, well, you're giving them away. That was $1.6 million in tuition. $1.6 million in tuition saved. But we're talking to people that were not considering Western before, and we're showing them that they have credits, and we're trying to help influence them to choose. If you take a look at this pipeline, this is our reality. This is 2006 to where we got, I don't know, about 3,200 students in the senior class graduating, and if you look out to 2030, it's about 2,600. So it's kind of a steady decline. That's our reality. That's our market. And so doing really good work, encouraging folks to understand, know, and think of Western in the future is important. So I thank all of you that did that work. That was really important. This is the Student Success Building. You can still see some boxes in there. We added that nice little name on top that will always be black. Maybe green and gold, but it's probably going to stay black, but it is cool that it can light it and change the colors. I'll tell you, successfully opening this thing officially tomorrow. There's a lot of folks a little stressed out. There's still a lot of things in the hallway. The construction is beautiful. And I encourage you, maybe in a couple of days, take a walk through this building. There's many of you that are going to be in there this afternoon because you're hoping your desk is there, right? And you shouted out for IT, and you shouted out for maintenance. They've been doing amazing jobs, lifting, carrying, moving, wiring, all those things so that we can go. But it's a phenomenal facility. I thank the board for supporting moving 4 projects into one crazy summer. Otherwise, we were going to move our employees 3 summers in a row. And we escalated it, which caused a lot of chaos. So this is really good work, and we're really excited about it. It's about getting access to services and helping our students. And remember, and I know Chad says this all the time, he taught me this, success with help is success. Success with help is success. We have to normalize help. 2 years ago, I was up here at my first college day, and I just said I wish we had a wellness plan. And what do you know, a group of, been working out, a group of really great people came together, built a good wellness plan. That was launched. You would have got an email on that a couple of weeks ago, so I'm excited about that. The firing range, we had a grand opening with the board last Tuesday at our board meeting. But what I want to shout out about this is the culmination of a large project for public safety. This started 3 years ago. Diane Neef was just, come on, we got to do this. She came and pushed with the board, and then a whole lot of people over the last 3 years came together and made this happen. The board supported us to build a new fire tower, which we opened last year, a high-capacity well, a new storage facility, and now a new state-of-the-art shooting range. As our commitment to public safety has never been stronger. We have the highest graduation numbers and completion numbers of law enforcement students in the state of Wisconsin. Make no doubt, Western is committed to public safety. So I'm really excited about the commitment there. For the apprenticeship facility, this is to be built. But I think it's a wow, because a lot of people put a lot of time in there. We have instructors that have helped us on this. We've got deans that have been working on this, facilities. But this is our next summer's project. We'll do the same. Close it down in May, open it up at the start of the school year, and hopefully have a brand new space that really honors what an apprenticeship is. Apprenticeship is so important to our workforce, and we're going to give them a world-class facility to go with it as well. Here's a couple of really quick celebrations, but they're really important ones. This is data, right? I'm just going to talk about it. I don't have the numbers up there. I don't expect you to remember the numbers, but remember what they are. We increased our population of students of color by 2%. That's one of our direct target goals. We reduced the gap in completion for our Black, Hispanic, Latino, and Native American students substantially, from 16 to 9%, and that is our target population to close the gap on. We reduced the second-year retention gap for our target population from 11 to 7%. We reduced the third-year graduation for this population 23 to 18%. Now, that's still a gap. Doesn't mean we're done. We have a long way to go. But we've made some great progress, and this is important work, folks. Overall, we increased our third-year graduation from 35% to 40%. The most important indicator we have at this college on how well we're doing with graduation is that third-year rate. It's the most important data point that we can use to compare ourselves to the other college. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. So these are substantial movements. We should feel really good about the work we're doing. We are an Achieve the Dream school. We are an Achieve the Dream leader school. And this is the work that we're doing, and this is the work that we're reporting out. I need to do a little shout out for the chaos. Wade did this, talking about our maintenance staff, our custodial staff, our folks that are in IT, and they're working right now. Most of them aren't here because they're doing that, and that's where they have to be, so our staff are ready to move in this afternoon. But I want to do a chaos to all the folks, and I don't know, like 100, Amy, I never even asked you. They've been working out of places that are not offices all summer. They've had groups of 6 and 9 in a single room. They've got to be pretty cozy families. I've visited several of them. But thank you. That's chaos. You'll have chaos a few days yet. But when we open for students and we're ready to go, this is a world-class space. And so I want to thank you very much for that. That's a total wow. I want to piggyback on that wow to all the staff that have stepped up. I mentioned we have some medical challenges by some of our staff. Many of you took an extra class. You covered shifts. You covered different pieces to work for them. That's always tough. Many of you have taken on new roles, new challenges over this last year, changes in your job description. You've shifted things for Experience 2025. You saw the people we hired. We always have 5, 6, 7 people on a committee, and that work takes a lot of time, especially when I see there's like 147 applicants in some of them, and we have this rubric that's really tough to do, and you got to do that for everybody. Equity, right? So thank you for the works that stepped up, stepped over, covered for the folks this last year. I can't call out the names. It's just too many. Grants, holy cow. This is unbelievable. We had 100%. We earned 100% of our state grants. We earned 100% of our Watt grants. We have never done that before. So I'd like to congratulate all the folks that are in the grants area, but honestly, it came from visions from all kinds of staff and faculty and deans that said, I've got an idea. And they come together, and this amazing work came out. I'll tell you what, if we go to 2014, Western got 0. It was a brutal year. We committed, we said, that's never going to happen again. 100% of it, and I think there was 8 or 9 different categories, and then Watt grants, there's always usually 9 or 10. So it was phenomenal work. It truly is a shout out for everybody. My final wow on this one is really for Western, and I'd like you to hear this. We're having more conversations about student success. We're talking about it, we're doing it, we're removing the barriers. We're changing the policy, we're improving messaging to students, we're being more consistent in that messaging and that communication, all in the name of students. Every student, every day. And I just love that. It feels good. And I hope you feel good about that work. I do. In your heart, I hope you feel good about it. It's every student, every day. So keep hanging with me. I'm going to move fast on this. I want to talk about the infusion of funds. And what does infusion of funds mean? It was about 2 years, probably 2.5 years ago. The Boards Association, which is all the boards in the state, the Wisconsin Technical College System, and the President's Association came together and had a big meeting and said, what are we going to do with this legislature? How are we going to get some dollars in this biennium? And we went after direct investment. And we went to all of our employers, and we all went and marched on Madison, and we went to all our legislators' offices, and we said, invest. If you want more workers, invest. And so we made a commitment that we'd spend these dollars on student success initiatives to keep students and dollars to bring programming and credit opportunities. And so I'm going to share with you with what we're doing. The legislature came through with $25 million over 2 years for the technical college system. That's $12.5 million for the system, and our share of that is $850,000 of dollars we did not have before. And we made a commitment to invest them in Experience 2025, and we did. We didn't want to go to the old budget process and just buy down. We brought in our Experience 2025 teams. We have 2 leaders on every one of them. That was 28 people. We brought the senior leaders in, and we had a retreat. We didn't have a lot of time, and we did this in July. We had, I know, well over 100 ideas on the board. And we went through what could we do that helps student success, what could we do that helps this Experience 2025 plan, and how do we add some FTEs that help our workforce. That's the things that I'm going to share for you today. This is exciting. Some of the quick operational dollar things we did, we invested some dollars to have more youth camps, K-12 pathway work, student orientations. We've underfunded that. I know Sean Dell's been really working to try to make those orientations an experience, and we had to put some dollars into it. We put dollars in employee recognition. We've definitely underfunded that. So this is just a really good list. I'm going to share some of the staffing positions that are out that we funded over this year. And so some of these are already in place. You met some of the folks on the thing. Many of these are going to be happening. In medical assistant, we've invested to offer regional learning, and we'll offer sessions that rotate in La Crosse and Viroqua in our regional sessions. In human services, we had an instructor to expand offerings. We've got a TOMA section. In occupational therapy, we expanded our offerings to add more opportunity for students. We firmed up a digital marketing position that we've had on grants so that it was solid and fused into our dollars. In our Project Proven, our work with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated work, we hardwired a position that was a limited term position, and we have a coordinator position coming out this spring to make sure that we can continue to grow that work. It's really important work. We're investing in public safety. We're adding an EMS instructor to help with regional things all around, pathway work and EMS. We're investing in electrical apprenticeship. And I think it's on the maintenance side, but we're committing to the apprenticeship facility as well as committing to an additional section of apprenticeship. We're investing in the business and industry sector. So we're adding an electromechanical. It's the number one thing our employers are asking for our BIS training. So we're investing in someone to help us do that work. Similarly, we're investing in a similar position to do this work in our prison system. They're actually wanting to employ a full-time electronics instructor to offer those folks while they're in prison and then getting out so that they can go to work. We're investing in a new program in our IT area. Kat tells me it's related to cybersecurity, the Internet of Things, something probably near manufacturing, information technology. We're investing in learner support we converted an assistant position and added a faculty position. We're investing in work-based learning coordinator because our goal is to have 100% of our programs embed work-based learning, but we need somebody to help us do that like we did in community engagement, and it works, so we're investing in that. We're investing in someone to help in our instructional design, and I'll tell you what, we are working on, and you guys have been working on Successibilities. We've been working on our community and work-based learning. We've got 21st century teaching curriculum work. We got competency-based work. We got Carnegie Hour work. I mean, academics is full of it. We got our block schedule work and our guided pathway work, and a lot of it's curriculum work. A lot of it is. So we're investing in someone to help support the people that are doing that work. We're investing in someone in HR, and this is about recruiting a more diverse workforce and helping with our recruitment of part-time and helping to expand our employee orientations. We're investing in a training and development coordinator. This is something I was passionate about. It's a job I used to have. And we have a lot of people that work on training and development, but it's nobody's job. It's nobody's job to really say, I'm responsible for training and development at this organization of 450 full-time people and that many in part-time. We're making it somebody's job, and the major focus will be what's needed in 2025. These investments are a huge deal. These are things we would not have funded through our own process. And so I just appreciate that the legislature has trusted us to make decisions that are going to impact and help our employers. Let's talk a little bit about what we do here, what we do at Western. Our plan is called Experience 2025, and to me, this is a workforce plan. It's a really different kind of workforce plan because we talk about human beings, who they are, how we get them there, but it is absolutely a workforce plan. And I hope that as we end today that you feel that. So I want to ask you, do we know how important our work is at this college? Do we know what it means for our community? How important your work is? How important the work is that we have with direct students? And many of you do not work with direct students. That doesn't matter, but you work with people and you help people that directly work with the students. That's critical work. Again, 450 full-time people and that many part-time staff. I ask you, do you know the impact that you have on students, on the community, employers, and to each other? I do, and I appreciate that. I really do. We have a responsibility to the taxpayers in this region, and I'm proud of the work that we do, and our outcomes have shown it, and we can stand tall in this community whenever we have to talk about what we're doing. We're participating, and I want you to think about this slide. I think this picture, I asked Sharon to find me some graduation slides, and this was the most beautiful slide. We're participating in the dreams of generations, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit. Isn't that incredible? Amazing, powerful. The dreams of generation, the impact of generations. We may not feel like we have the power, but we have the power. We may not want that power, but we have the power. The dreams of generations are in our hands. And how we handle that power is up to each and every one of us, isn't it? It's all of us. And I hope we do it in a first choice way. A first choice way. We're going to continue to talk about that. Now hear me. That's the power to mold, to shape, to develop, to teach, to train, to encourage, to motivate, to build up, to push, to challenge, and to grow a workforce for this region. We're just so important to what's called social mobility. It's so important for our region, for Wisconsin, for this greater United States. Really, for society as a whole. The two-year system are the ones that put folks to work. Put folks to work. And I take that seriously, and I know that you do. It shows in our work. It's showing in our outcomes. I'd like to read the mission statement. I think it's pretty impactful. Western Technical College provides relevant, high-quality education in a collaborative and sustainable environment that changes the lives of our students and grows our community. Now, I think it's beautiful. I think it's too long because I can't remember it. I have to always look, and I've been here a long time, that part. But honestly, what it says to me is absolutely beautiful. It implies to me every student every day. Nowhere does it say but. Nowhere does it say for just this group. Nowhere does it say it excludes. We are parts of the dreams of generations. We change lives. That's right in our mission. We change lives. Standing with students at graduation, and I get that honor, and many of you do. It's sometimes the very first success they've had, the first high school graduation, the first college graduation, and their entire family. That's the dreams of generation. And our mission really implies open access. Now hear me. Our mission does not say only if you're a top-performing high school student. It does not say only if you're an adult that doesn't have to work, because they have to work. Only if you live next to our campus. Only if you're motivated every day. Only if you're a certain age or a certain color. Only if your parents were married. Only if you're from this country. Only if you're college ready. Only if you speak English fluently. Only if you're straight. Only if you're smart. Only if you're organized. Only if you're confident. Our mission doesn't say any of that. It implies every student every day. So we have to, this is the tough work. We have to accept the student in front of us. And I mentioned that we're part of dreams of generations and we change lives. Ultimately, that's called social mobility. Social mobility. So I would like to share a short video to help you really consider the reality of what's called social mobility. I know some of you are really grounded in it and you understand it. This video is based on the research of the Brookings Institute, and this is Dr. Richard Reeves. He's an economist. I think he just does a really nice, simple job of explaining what it is, and some of you may have had an opportunity to see this before. So let's go ahead and run that slide.
We're going to talk about inequality and opportunity in America. Let's start by dividing the population up into 5 equally sized slices. If you're boring like me, you might call them quintiles. In an absolutely equal society where everybody had the same amount of money, each fifth of the distribution would get a fifth of the money. It would look like this. Of course, that's not how it is. In the real world, the bottom quintile, the bottom fifth, gets 5% of the money, and the top fifth get more than half the money. But I think in terms of fairness, and certainly in terms of American fairness, the question's less what's the gap between the bottom and the top, and it's more what are your chances of making it from the bottom to the top. How mobile is society? How far does where you're born on the ladder affect where you end up on the ladder? So in a perfectly mobile society, an opportunity utopia, being born down here in the bottom quintile would have no effect on where you ended up. You'd be equally likely to make it to the top as to stay at the bottom. But now I want to show you what it's really like. Right now, for the people born at the bottom, more than 1 in 3 of them will remain stuck at the bottom, and just 1 in 10 are going to make it all the way up to the top. That's bad enough, but it's even worse for certain groups in the population. If you were born in the bottom quintile and you're a black American, you have a 50% chance of remaining stuck at the bottom and just a 3% chance of making it Horatio Alger style all the way to the top. So this is the picture for black America. For white Americans, the picture looks close to that utopia with roughly the same chances of making it to the top of the distribution as of being stuck at the bottom. Those who are born at the bottom and are raised by parents who are never married. And for that group, the odds of making it to the top are pretty slim as well. For them, it looks like this. For those raised by married parents, it looks like this. Again, it's pretty close to what you might hope for in a perfectly mobile society. Those who are born at the bottom, if they're raised by married parents, have a pretty good chance of making it to the top. So if you don't complete high school, there's a 50% chance you're going to stay stuck at the bottom if you were born at the bottom, and a 1% chance that you're going to make it to the top 20% of the income distribution as an adult yourself. So for them, it looks like this. If you're born at the bottom, born in this bottom fifth, but you're one of the few born down here who managed to get a 4-year college degree, transforms your chances of moving up the income distribution. Go to college. We can have a long argument about the gap between the rich and the poor, but I think we can all agree that we don't want to live in a society where you're born determines so strongly your chances in life of where you end up. America has a dream of equal opportunity, and we're a very long way right now from that dream. We have a big problem, and we need big solutions.
Thank you. I like the go to college, right? Go to college. Now, it says 4-year degree. We know we have that impact with a 1 and a 2-year degree. You know, it makes sense to the folks in this room. I hope it makes sense to you, that it makes a difference. But, you know, his question, do we have the American dream? Is the American dream alive? Is it equal? Is there equity in that American dream? So the dreams of generations are in our hands. And the opportunity to close those gaps sit with a lot of the people that are right in this room. And I think it's achievable when we work together. I have a friend, Dr. Mike Flores. He is the chancellor at the college system in Alamo College, and that's the San Antonio area. One of the most poverty-stricken regions in the entire country. They earned the Malcolm Baldrige Award last year, and you may not know what that is, but if you do know, it is a high, high bar. They're the first higher education institution to earn it since 2005, right? He was speaking to us at a conference, and he shared with me that those that finish college, our 1-year, our 2-year degrees, they get a diploma at the end, 5 times more likely to move on social mobility. 5 times factor if they finish and complete. That's pretty powerful. If the dreams of generations begin with a single completion, the dreams of generations begin with a single completion. Now hear this version. The dreams of generations begin with a single completion where a completion was not going to happen before. So when we change that completion that wasn't going to happen to one, we change that opportunity. Think back to our WOWs. We've made wonderful progress in retention. Think about that first quintile that's up on that board. Think about what it takes to decide to just go to college if you're in that quintile. Nobody's talking about it growing up. It's different. It's, you'll never have enough money to go to college. Our family doesn't go to college. Then to successfully get through, say, our application process, our financial aid, our orientation, registering for classes, successfully figuring out the campus building, figuring out how to get a parking pass, finding parking, getting our books, getting our materials, successfully figuring out Blackboard access, email access, getting to class the first day, getting to class subsequent days, getting through the first course, finding help while you're in that first course, finishing their first year, their first term, their first year, their second year. It's one short sprint after another. And I think those that endure, 5 times factor. That's pretty amazing to me. 5 times factor. But let's not forget, during that time, they're balancing a job, a family, children, health issues, transportation issues, food insecurity, housing areas. I mean, it's a lot for even the most supported students that we have that come to college. It's tough. It really is tough. And I know that you know that. So again, from that bottom of quintile, what about them? What barriers are already in their way that limit their ability to complete? How do we move them on that continuum? What do we own in that? What first choice actions can we take to lift them up and move them to a 5 times opportunity? 5 times. I want to share some poverty in our district. So this is just a county view. If we take a look at county, and this is families with children, if you look around, we've got about a 14.5% average poverty rate by our counties. And guess where those students will go to college? Guess where they'll choose to come to get their GED, their HSED? And guess who's going to welcome them? That's Western. That's where those folks choose. Now let's talk about poverty for school-age children by school districts. And we have 26 school districts. What a gap we have across our district. So if we take the Hillsborough School District, 34% poverty rate for families with children. And then if we go over to our stronger one in there, 7% in Holman, what a gap. Out of 26 schools, the majority of our schools are some of the highest poverty rates in the entire state of Wisconsin. We have poverty in our region. Hillsborough is 5th highest in the state. 5th highest in the state. It's real. And it's real for our students. Now, if you think about it, I think our main competition today, it's not UWL, it's not Viterbo. I don't think it's really CVTC, even though I really want to beat them. I don't think it's Midstate. I don't think it's Minnesota Southeast or Southwest Technical College below us. I don't. I think poverty is our main competition. I think it's the ability to believe I can even start, I can even get through our process. Once I'm here, that I can feel that I can do it, that I have a level of confidence to get me there, and to reach all those race steps up to finish. I think that's our biggest competition is poverty. The lowest quintile is the lowest quintile is a group that only Western truly cares about, that only Western allows access to. And that population has hopes and dreams, just like, I don't know, my kids. And I'm pretty privileged. I'm pretty proud of my kids. They've done some incredible things. They've had some great opportunities. My daughter started at Ohio State this year. I'm pretty proud of her. It's a pretty big deal. Pretty privileged. And I recognize that. Pretty privileged. And we have folks that are trying to figure out if they want to even come here and if they're strong enough to get their GED. But the work that you do and you build them up and seeing them at graduation is transformational. I'm telling you this because I want you to feel really good that we have been doing amazing work, and that's why we are a leader college. So many believe that they can't, we tell them they can. I've talked about our academic words and our language. We are a complicated process. I talked about this last year. Someone with limited experience trying to navigate a FAFSA, crazy work. I'm so proud of the people in here that have worked on our CRM project. And it's just a software, right? It's a software project. But it's a software about recruitment and then a relationship model all the way through so that the right message goes to students at the right time. The right message, not 3 different messages. The right message at the right time so they can make those decisions and that we're there for them. So thank you for all you folks that have worked on it. It's like pressing the easy button, or at least that's what we're trying to do. More can make it. You prove that. Our FTEs are up because of that commitment. And you're the ones that have been telling students not to give up, telling them they can do it, showing them the way, and please feel good about that. Now, I believe that education is a fundamental human right. I believe that, I really do. And our college does work others will not to. Many of our students would never make it into UWL. Now, it's fine college. I have my master's degree from there. I taught for them for 6 years. Proud of UWL, enjoy them as a partner, but they say no to so many students. They do. They say no. Try to get in their PT program or their PA program. Rigorous, to say the least. They're selective. That's their model. I mean, no disrespect, that's their model. It's not our model. If you believe every person has a right to an education, and humor me and assume that that's true, then who is willing to help them? Who is willing to help every single student here? It's us. It's us. It's the people in this room. It's the two-year system. And the folks in this region, they do look to us for it. We say, yes, we're going to help you. Yes, you are welcome here. Yes, we believe in you, and that's first choice. Thank you. Think of the video. If education is the answer to social mobility, if it is, and you made a pretty good point on it, and the two-year system is open access, then we have the potential to have the largest single impact to change lives. That's Western Technical College. And we have done this for 107 years. 107 years, we have amazing impact on folks that didn't have a chance before. We should celebrate that great work. We should celebrate all that we've helped move in social mobility, but also challenge ourselves to say how many more could we help on that continuum. I think we're lucky. We have the brightest and most talented students in the region that come here. We get top students, absolutely, but we also get students that suffer from just, I'll call it oceans of pain, that have lives when you hear their story, you go, oh my God. But they have these incredible lives, and then they have hopes and dreams. And how do we merge that and bring that together? I can't write them off. We can't. Poverty is not a handout. That's just insulting. It's our obligation. That's the work of Western Technical College. You know, here's what's easy. To say, be ready, and I'll take you. The tough work is to accept who's in front of us. The tough work is in our mission. To accept the person that's standing right in front of us. And it's hard. It's scary. It's different. It's shift. You know, a good coach will say you got to shift your hips, broaden your stance, and get a good whole full view of the field. We have to shift as Western and look at that full field and believe that every single person, if we care about equity, has an opportunity. Some are going to let us down. Some aren't going to make it. But we're not going to give up on them. We're not going to give up on them. And that's everyone here. Could you grab, I think there's a green sheet on everybody's thing. Do you mind grabbing your plan? I want to share a little bit about that and tie it to our plan. We gave the plan last year. This is the updated version. Now, I want to talk about Experience 2025 and how this really fits in there. Our vision is to be a college of first choice. That's our vision. So we're committed to providing. We're committed to providing a level of personal service that makes sense. That is for students, that's for employers, community, to each other. First choice service is how you look at the person next to you and how we talk at them and talk to them and listen to them. I'm a little bit, maybe it's hokey, but I think first choice service is love that's visible. When we show people, when we encourage the hearts of students, it's to create a positive emotional experience, even if they're not doing well, even if they're failing. So I want you to hear this. First choice service for me is providing a service to those we serve from a place of humility and void of judgment. I was just talking with Willa. Where's Willa? Willa works in the jails, and we were just talking about this, weren't we? Humility and void of judgment. She works with people that have had some pretty tough lives and some tough things handed to them, and they've made some bad choices. They absolutely are part of it. And she doesn't judge them. She said, I believe in you and you can do this. That's what we're talking about with humility and void of judgment. Think about that lowest quintile. Many of them here are like it's in a foreign land, another culture, a different planet, and providing grace for that 20% of that quintile, that's first choice. Allowing them and giving them hope, that's first choice. For those of you that don't face students directly, first choice is how you serve everyone else that serves students, how you build it up so that their day is successful and all the work in it. To me, it's about how do we all work team to team, division to division, human being to human being. And I know I can do better. Equity, inclusion, and support. We're committed to providing students from all backgrounds, all levels accessible, and an equitable learning environment. We're committed to that. That's the every student, every day. So we have to remove the barriers and continue to equalize completion. And we're making great progress. We just have a great start, we do. Workforce and community engagement. I think our employers are begging us to keep them here. I won't say the program because they were amazing. They won all these competitions, and the students came to the board, and it was awesome. They were beautiful. They were so successful. And then, of the 7 students, 6 of them were going to Rochester, and 1 was going to the cities. And it was amazing. I mean, the jobs were phenomenal. There's no question about them. But we want them to stay here. Now, I can't stop somebody. Let's face it. There's great opportunity everywhere. We're going to do that. But our employers want them to stay here. So we're committed in workforce and community engagement to building community engagement into our programs so they have a sense of community. Building that workforce experience so they experience employers in our region. 1, it helps them take their skills to another level, but 2, it builds that sense of I should stay here. Employee engagement. This plan absolutely means nothing without the folks in this room. I swear to you, I mean that and I believe that in all my heart. It's my belief that you all have a deep desire, a yearning to make that difference, to have that tombstone that just says, you know, I mattered, that I made a difference. If we remember that we have the power to influence dreams of generations, then you can see that it's in our grasp. And I hope you feel it. I really do. And I hope you feel that you can celebrate it. I mean, achieve the dream. Leader status is a big deal because it means we're working in that direction. And these conversations that we continue to have prove that we care about all students. I'm going to share a few updates on our plan. Grab the green sheet again. This is I want to show you right where we made some changes. Our plan was to try to change as little as possible, but we got to be real. It's a year later. What's important? So we held, many of you were there. We had 108 people come to a data summit, and we talked about what's most important today. In fact, the research department had to take hundreds of pieces of qualitative data and break it down to us. And here's what we ended up with. This is what I want to share with you all. Under first choice service, we added 1 goal. If we believe success with help is success, then how do we get students to be supported so that they feel that success is available, or that support is available to them? That's our goal. We want to make sure that they can get access and that they know it, and so we have a measure for that. So if we believe it, we have to normalize help, and everyone in this room has to know, where do I send somebody if emotionally they're having a tough day? Where do I send somebody if they're lost? Where do I send somebody if they can't find their schedule? Where do I send somebody if they're struggling and they just go, I don't think I can do it. I don't know how to complete my math or my science. Do we all know where to send them exactly? How do we map that out? This is our commitment so that we're all kind of experts just to get the people to the right resources, because the room is full of resources. We added 2 strategies. 1 was under first choice service. We want to reduce the time for part-time students. We want to reduce the time to completion for part-time students. A couple of ways. 1, we can advise them to get closer to 15 credits than 9. It's not the reality for everybody. But again, if someone's coming to me and they say, I'm just going to take 3 credits each term, I'm going to tell them they're never going to graduate, because they're not. The 1 in 100 will. But that's just not a plan anymore. The data over 3 years is pretty stark. But here's the thing you may not realize. 70% of our students are part-time that take credits. 70%. We don't build a single program plan that shows a part-time pathway. The state never used to allow us. Now, because of guided pathways, they're going to allow us to do that. So we're going to start working on it. We're going to make a commitment to show a way so students aren't trying to navigate it 100% on their own and go, well, if I take this, and then we come back and say, oh, you should have never took that first. We want to show them really clear pathways. It's good work. Guided pathways is one of the number one things this college can do to help fix that. Our final strategy that we added is under equity, inclusion, and support. We added a strategy to infuse poverty-informed practice, hence today. Hence having Mr. Dell come back and help us today. And he's really helped that conversation at this college. He's really helped really fuel our work towards working on poverty. And I'm honored that we put it as part of the plan today because we've made that commitment. We did a lot of other wording clarification, and I'm not going to go through all those details in there. I do want to share and go back to third-year graduation as the number 1 indicator. This is Katie, by the way. She's now works for us. Where's Katie? Congratulations, she graduated this last May, and she is now going to be the center of our welcome. When you show up at this college, she's there to say, welcome, first choice service all the way. Everything on this plan is about every student every day. And I want to think in terms of epic completion band. We went from 35% to 40%. This goes back 2014, so 31 to 40%. All right? That's a nice trend line. That's a really nice trend line for completion. But as I mentioned earlier, we've grown greatly, and we should feel really good about it. And I really believe this is our absolute number one indicator for student success. But where should it be? Where should this number end? Where should it be? I call it a moonshot. And so if we take a look at where Western falls in the 16 colleges, we're celebrating a move from 31, I guess was the number we saw in there, to 40%. That's awesome. That's transformational. That's a whole lot more students at graduation. But where do we fall within the 16 technical colleges? I think we have to be real, right? We have to look at it. And I think, what is our moonshot? What's a fair? What's the real target? Where do we want to be? And I'm going to challenge us to be in the top 25% of the WTCS. So our moonshot today is to work on this number by 2022 to get to 53%. That puts us in the top quartile. If we're going to achieve the dream college that cares about student success and cares about people on the continuum, we have the plan to move us up on that continuum. We do. We've got the initiatives, we got the people in the room that care, but our wildly important goal, and to me it's the number one wildly important goal we have, is to move our moonshot to 53% and get that graduation in the top quartile. And I'm asking every person in here to say, I believe in that goal, and I want to try to help us get there. Because all of us have to work on the conditions that create an opportunity for someone to stay a little bit longer, and what do you know? I graduated. 5 years ago, we focused on course completion, and we did it. We moved that number from like 50-some% to 83%. It was huge transformation because we talked about it. But you know, a student's goal was never to finish a course. Not most of them. Their hopes and dreams are a course and a term, and then a year, and then a graduation. And for diplomas, that's a quicker path. So if we are if we are stewards of our students, if we're students of their legacy, it's a legacy not of our own. That's powerful. It's epic responsibility. It's one of those things, honestly, if you receive a paycheck from Western, I hope you believe it's our obligation. If every student every day is our North Star, then our number one measure on this journey, call it a space journey then, is third year completion. And I'll make it 53%. And I need your help to do it. I want to completely shift gears as I close. I want to revisit our values. I want to call them out: learning, excellence, accountability, diversity, student success, teamwork, integrity, and respect. And I want to commit to you that I will live and work with these values. But I want to commit to you that we need to talk about them more. Everyone in this room does. I'm going to challenge you all at your team meetings to bring them out. Every one of you. Let's review them. I'm going to challenge our leaders to say, put them back into your slides. We need to talk about them. It should be core, as every one of us is a human being. And my good friend Tom Thibodeau, I know many of you know him from this town, he always talks that we're human beings, not human doings. And I think that our values unify our beliefs as a college, and what brings us together as human beings. If you look at our college practices, care of others, attitude, professionalism, communication, commitment, these are what help us work together in a climate that's healthy, in a climate that's fun, joyous, purposeful, and ensures respect for each other. I can do better at this. I know I can. I can do better at an environment for that. I ask all of you to help. I think it's a wonderful college, and I'm committed to ensuring that civility and humility are a part of our daily lives. And I think we're pretty busy, and I think we can forget about that. But I'd like us to refocus on it. That really means to listen to each other with our eyes, our hearts. It's how we work together. But it also is about owning I can do better myself and thinking about how am I with my team. It's about being real, and I commit that I'll do this You know, Western values the input and feedback and engagement of every employee, and it's my job to make sure that that voice is there. And I'm committed to making that pathway stronger at Western. To end for today, I want Western to serve every student every day. That is the North Star. And I hope today you can reflect on how we serve the least privileged people in our society. How do we do that? How can we do that better? How can we bring forward innovation to help that moonshot? How can we help that to be more resilient as a college for another 100 years? To move those student success indicators? And again, we have a great start as a college. I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. You make the change and you make the difference, but let's get to 53%. Thanks for listening today. Keep your hearts and your minds open about the message. Chad's coming up, and he's going to take this to another level for us. We're adding poverty-informed practice to our strategic plan, and it's so important. So I hope you have a lovely morning, and I look forward to a great lunch together this afternoon. Thank you.
I was at Western for 17 years. When I had my first staff meeting in 2003, the first topic I talked about with my staff, I coordinated all of the regional centers for what was then called Instructional Support Services, now called Learner Support and Transition. And I said, we are going to work on financial literacy. Now, I don't believe in financial literacy as much as I used to because I became aware that you can't actually manage what you don't have, right? But I knew then that this issue of poverty, this issue of not having what you need, was a barrier. I would argue might be the barrier to students getting where they want to go. I love the talk about social mobility. There's sociologists in the room. I am not a sociologist, so I'll just try to play one on stage. I get that we don't solve income inequality with what we do here, but we do work on social mobility, right? We do work on poverty. These are the tools that we have. So I've been talking about this issue for a long time. Actually, in 2008, when they appointed me dean, I stood up in front of the management forum and I held up the book, A Framework for Understanding Poverty by Dr. Ruby K. Payne. And I said, this is the most important book I've ever read. By the way, the reason it was at the time, I'm not going to talk a ton about me today, but it was kind of the story of my family, right? So I'm one of those flukes. I started college in 1988, as you could tell by the fashion in the earlier slide. I finished college 12 years later at the second different place. I am statistically a fluke, right? So there's no, I don't like Horatio Alger stories. I don't like hero stories. I want to figure out how that doesn't happen. Now, I got through that through lots of things. I sit in a big bucket of privilege, right? If I was tall, I'd check like every box, right? Tall has been what has been the issue. And I am a little short on time today, or I would talk to you because I thought the original topic was how to build an excellent basketball program at a small technical college in Wisconsin. But hopefully Dave, thank you very much. Dave Fish has assured me he's going to hire somebody much better and they won't get stuck with fourth place in the country next year. So a couple notes before we jump into this thing we call poverty-informed practice. And for those of you that don't know, because Dave Reed told me he thought I got fired, I had a very busy summer. I was, after a long time here, and I love it here. I love it here, and I love what you're doing, and I'm glad I live in La Crosse. This thing that I'm chasing told me I needed to find another place to do it bigger, if I could. So it's so rewarding to see it take hold here. When I was very busy here running the finest division on campus, Learner Support and Transition, you don't always notice that things are taking hold. So to see that you're talking college-wide about this issue that means so much to me, to see that it's in the strategic plan, that puts you in an elite group of colleges in this country. And this stuff is not theoretical, right? So there is no silver bullet, but this might be as close as I've come. Where's Ann Bryce? Is Ann here today? Is she hiding? Is she in the bathroom somewhere? Is she feeding people? That's what I often see, Ann getting food for people. About 3 years ago, Ann sent me an email after she was at Achieving the Dream and said, Chad, have you seen this work going on at Amarillo College in Amarillo, Texas? And Amarillo is a community college with technical stuff also. Roughly the same head count as Western. Very different community. Certainly more ethnically diverse than we are. Poverty rate a little higher. But they had figured out, it was great that Dr. Stanford's talking about 3-year graduation rates. They were at 19% in 2014. They went out, and they're in Achieving the Dream School. And they surveyed the students. He was a new president at the time, said, let's find out why students don't complete. And they were expecting, right, they're academic people. They were expecting the answer to be, we need better tutoring centers, we need more supports, we need all those things. And those things came back after the first 10 things that weren't academic-based. They're the things that any of you that are student-facing already know. How do I get there? How do I pay for this? What do I do when my kids are sick? And so Amarillo made a choice to turn into this issue of poverty. And I just want to validate your moonshot. I was with Dr. Lowry Hart at Amarillo week before last. It's been a little crazy. And they went from 19% in that year. They're going to announce that their version of this fall, they're at 56%. Right? You started at 30. Right? What could you do here? What could you do here? So I think I cut myself off and forgot to mention, no, Dave, I did not get fired. I took a position as Vice President of Academics up at Minnesota State College Southeast, where we intend to be a poverty-informed college. And I loved what you said. It's 25 miles up the river, or about 85 if you get up to our Red Wing campus. And I don't figure we're competing with Western or with CVTC or with RCTC. We are competing against this crisis of poverty. So I have about 90 minutes to tell you about what I've cared about my whole life, and I'm really grateful to be here to do it. Let's see what we can tell you a little bit. I'm going to try, because except for the 36 new people, you're all people that I know and love, and I'm sure you're wonderful people too. I'm going to make you a little uncomfortable. All right? I'm going to trust that you have enough safety in this room to be a little uncomfortable. If you're not, everything is, as they say on ropes courses, challenge by choice, right? So if you want to sit out what I ask you to do. But I'm going to ask you just to stand up if. Most people have done some activity like this in a meeting or room. So could you stand up if you either know a student or have helped a student with issues of food insecurity? You've helped them get food or know that they need food. Thank you. You can sit. Be good. It'll be like squats here for a little while. Right? It's a beautiful new wellness center. Got people flexing. That's great. Can you stand up if you either know a student or have helped a student with issues of housing insecurity? And you should take a second to look around the room, right? These are the issues your students face. Have a seat. Last one on the student side. Please stand up if you're aware of or have helped a student with health care insecurity issues. Great. Thank you. So now's the more maybe uncomfortable part, but I saw a guy out in Philadelphia last year. His name's Ruben Canedo, and he wants to establish who we are in the room. So this is probably your challenge by choice place. I want you to think about yourself. If you're willing, please stand up if at some point in your life you've faced issues of food insecurity. Take a look around the room. You can have a seat. You're smart people, so you'll probably predict. I'd like you to stand up if you've faced issues of housing insecurity. Thank you. And last one, come to your feet if you've faced issues around health care insecurity. So, go ahead and have a seat. There's always diversity in the room, right? And these are the things that prevent our students from succeeding. So why are we talking about this? on my break between jobs, Kat Lineker told me, she said, trust me, if you're moving from one college to another, from a dean to a vice president, you need like 30 days to get your head together. I think you told me, Kat, you took like a day and a half, so good for you. And she moved across several states. But I went and got some further training with a woman named Dr. Donna Beagle, actually in Amarillo. Everyone from Western that I've taken to Amarillo has told me two things. One, they really learned a lot and felt good about it. And two, they are never going to Amarillo again. So there's not a lot to do there. But Dr. Beagle likes to tell us this: understanding the notion of generational poverty, meaning someone who's been in poverty, their family, for 2 or more generations. If they walk into this institution today and we do what we do, right? If we do the same, if we do equal, 1 out of 10, that should make you uncomfortable. That's malpractice, right? That's just malpractice. So, oh, by the way, if that young person is in foster care, 3%. So, we have to do one of two things. We either do things markedly differently, right? Or we stop lying to these people, right? And Roger said it perfect. The people on that screen, if they're going to college, they're going here, right? They're going to Southeast where I work. They're going to a 2-year college, and they have been told, go to college. It's the answer. We have a moral obligation, in my opinion, to be that answer. And you can, right? You're already doing a lot of the work. But it is a matter of equity, and we'll talk more about that as the morning goes on. So this has been kind of my mantra all summer. Actually, I kind of started thinking this way. I shared this stage, actually, with Shondell Spivey 4 or 5 months ago at the Health Summit that the Health Science Consortium runs. And Shondell talks about tough topics, right? And he talks about them in a very effective way. And he told folks, you're going to be uncomfortable. Now, this is my nice version, that I think you're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. 11% ought to make you uncomfortable. Now, what Shondell said, and I remember he said, when you get uncomfortable, you're cooler than I am, but just chill. so picture Shondell, picture him telling you to just chill, and you'll be okay. But we're going to spend some time doing that. So before we do, Eric Jacobson has been one of my great partners here on this campus, and we spent a little time before I exited putting together a little bit of video of some our understanding of what serving people in poverty is on this campus, and I think we have some video footage that we can share of that.
I think it's important that we institution-wide make sure that we welcome our students truly as they are.
Dylan's so good, they froze him in time. Buffering. That's weird. Let's try once more, Andy, and then we'll punt if we need to.
I think it's important that we institution-wide make sure that we welcome our students truly as they are. So when they come to us and they're not prepared, when they don't have the necessary documents, when they don't even have a pen or pencil to write with, I think it's important that we sort of meet them where they are and provide them with those basic things that will help them be successful, because so many of our students come from non-traditional home settings, or maybe they don't come from a home at all. And so getting those things can truly be a barrier. So the more that we can do for them, I think the more we enable them to be successful.
If we can be welcoming, if we can calm some of those fears when they walk through those doors on that first day, kind of have that deer in headlight look, let them know just how much we want them here, how much we want to give them that opportunity to make their life a little different, hopefully better.
I think our staff does a really great job of not just saying, I think it's down the hall, but taking them down the hall, of making the phone calls, making sure that someone knows to expect someone is coming.
I was working with a student that she needed a phone, and the only way to get the phone was we got her a gift card, but she didn't have a way to get there. And it was the end of the day, and it worked out timing-wise for this particular student that I could take her to Walmart. I had other errands to do, so I gave her a ride to Walmart, and then she wasn't sure how she was going to get back. I said, well, it's not that far out of my way. So I took her back to the house. And the conversation we had in between, the gratefulness that she had, the confidence, not the confidence, she was very emotional, I guess I would say, because she did not expect me to do that.
There are so many little things we can do. And maybe to us, when we're doing our jobs on a particular day, maybe there's sometimes a little bit of a hassle, or they wreck our schedule on a particular day. But what was ultimately a small thing will change a student's life completely.
One that comes to mind and that I was thinking about this weekend even was a student that came to us just after releasing from La Crosse County Jail, and since he had gone in the winter, he had gone in a winter coat and blue jeans, and he had a broken cell phone, and that was all that he came in with. And so when he released in the middle of July, 2 weeks ago, when it was 100 degrees outside, he was wearing just those things. And so that was one where we had to step up and send him pretty much everywhere, and also really connect him with as many resources as possible to make sure that he had just sort of the basic needs met.
I've bought scrubs for students. I've paid for certification fees, trying to get bikes for students, buy school supplies every year. Just students need notebooks, backpacks, highlighters, simple things.
And if we can erase those barriers or help them leap over them, hurdle them, we're one step better to helping them further their future.
Through what has been started in the learner support and transition area, we're trying to expand those bowls across campus, and so that makes food a little bit more available on that immediate basis. So I think of breakfast a lot of times, and as a mom of small children, and thinking about how important that first meal of the day, and how people wake up hungry, kids wake up hungry, and so do adults. And so if you're coming to school and you haven't ate that first meal, like having a granola bar available in a common space will be pretty helpful.
It's very hard to ask for help. So the more we can recognize and reach out to those students and reassure them, I think that's a good thing for our students.
You go ahead and applaud for those folks. That's nice. And again, just thank you to Eric and his very full calendar to find time to put that together. So that's evidence that there's cool things happening at Western already. And I know, by the way, some of those things made some of you uncomfortable, right? So I'm going to talk to you about things today about mismatches between what higher education looks like and maybe what people need. And I'm going to challenge you to live in the gray places, right? It's the hardest thing in the world, because what we want to do is make a policy, right? So I was a dean here, right? And clearly policy was my strength. You can ask anybody that worked here, yes. Thank you for laughing. But I understand the value of policy. But if your work was just a matter of understanding and applying the policies, you're overeducated, right? You're overqualified. You're in the people business. So you have to wrestle in those tough spaces, and you have to make those tough calls. So on a personal level for me, being comfortable in discomfort is about that work, right? So about 2 years ago, I had to make a change. And it's fun to talk to an audience of people you mostly know, because I can use names. I've been talking about this issue forever, right? But I had two real powerful experiences in the last year and a half to 2 years. I think, and I can tell you, so one of the things that you do at Western if you're in management, and we did for 17 years, we really think it's important that we meet with each other. There's some managers talking to managers. There's some really great stuff going on there. But there were times when they'd say the word poverty, and everybody would turn to me and go, like, he's got it, right? Because I hadn't done enough work. I had created awareness, right? I trained over 300 people on this campus about a framework for understanding poverty, but it was just awareness. So a couple of things happened this last year. Actually, Kathleen Fredericks, who's an outstanding faculty member in my old division, said, I'm with you, Chad. What do we do? Right? What do we do? And that's a good challenge for a guy like me. Like, doing stuff was never my best thing. Darlene Campo was always, she said, you're like a spiritual leader, Chad. You know? So I thought, that's fair. She also told me in my last week on campus, I really enjoy chatting with you. I'm glad we didn't really have to work on anything together. But I took Kathleen's challenge seriously and said, how do we start putting some actions to this? And there's an old, you can look him up, a guy named G.K. Chesterton, who I like people, I like words, and he had just a quote that stuck with me, that anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Which doesn't make a lot of sense at first, right? But it means start. Start, right? Don't be so afraid of doing it wrong that you don't start. So we started doing some stuff, but I'm getting there soon. I want to just give you a quick thing. So some of you have been in a room with me and talked about poverty before, some of you haven't. This is the quickest thing I can show you to illustrate why the people we serve or the people we work with. Think of our little stand-up exercise. There are people in this room with different experiences than the one you have, and it matters, right? So I have not always been a middle-class, middle-aged, middle manager, slightly over middle weight, right? I was a poor kid, right? And that means something. Doesn't matter how much my life changes, he lives in there. And you want to know what the poor kid has, at least in my case? Chip on his shoulder, about this big, right? That most of you can't see, but it's really easy to hurt my feelings because even at 49, I'm pretty sure I'm fooling y'all. I got the y'all down in Texas, by the way. So, right, that I'm kind of making it, I'm faking it till I make it. Because I grew up in a world, this is a mental model for folks who live in poverty, developed by people who live in poverty. Notice what sits at the middle: relationships. This is the stuff students do that you don't understand. This is the student, and a few of you have heard me tell this story, so I'll tell the quick version. About 10 years ago, a student in our alternative high school, his name was Rick Carlos. I loved him.
What are the first words you should say in a speech? And what are the last words you should say in a speech? Now, tomorrow, I don't know how many of you are speaking.
Did Andy leave?
But I guarantee if you go to conferences, 19 out of 20 speakers will start in one of these ways.
You got that karaoke video
Number
for me?
one.
We can throw that up. All right. Let's get a round of applause for Tracy Dryden, everybody. So YouTube was afraid I was going to cry talking about Rick Carlos, so they helped me out. So Rick Carlos was an alternative high school kid. Loved him, took 2 chances to get through. I bought some Cutco knives from him. If anybody would like a $900 paring knife, I've got one at home. It's indestructible. And we got him into school. And he was doing pretty good. Actually, I don't work here anymore, so I can tell you, I bought his books. Although he wrote me an IOU. He promised me he would pay me back. And about 4 weeks into the term, Rick Carlos was gone. Gone. Can't find him. Can't get him on the phone. Don't know what's going on. 3 weeks later, I see him on campus. I go, what? Where have you been? Oh, my mom was sick. She lives in Milwaukee. That's his world, right? All my middle class expectations came out. Did you notify someone? Did you talk to student services? Did you get someone? My mom was sick. I went home, right? Now, I couldn't save him at that point, right? I always tell 2 stories about Rick Carlos. By the way, he got his financial aid. First person he paid back was me. The last people he paid back were financial aid. I'll talk to Geraldine later that he might still be in default, but And the only reason I tell you that story is we had a relationship. He was not going to forget the $250 he owed me. Financial aid, those are wonderful but abstract human beings. And if you look around this is what people in poverty say they worry about. It's lots of the same things you and I worry about, just in different ways. They do talk about this notion of agency time. I talk with a lot of social service agencies about agency time. Please stop telling poor people there's a program. Oh, there's a program for that. Oh, there's a program for that. Well, we just got to get you on a bus, get you over. You got to make an appointment. Don't miss the time. And they all have separate intake forms. And a lot of times you find out you don't qualify, which we think is an innocuous word. How would you like to be told you don't qualify on a regular basis when you are being courageous enough to ask for help? So the Brazilian scholar Paulo Freire, I just like to say it to sound academic, wrote in a book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, when he visited America, he could not believe how much we blame the poor for being poor. And they, in turn, blame themselves. It is deep within. And we'll talk about why that matters in a little bit and what you can do about it. But they're pretty sure they did something wrong. Most agencies and businesses treat them like they did something wrong. And then we're surprised when only 11% of them can make it. Right? So, on the positive side, you can do work with relationships. That is the beauty of this room. When Jackie asked me to do this, she said, there's student-facing and non-student-facing people here. Doesn't matter, right? You are all in the student success business. Right? I always use the same example. It's out there somewhere. If you've seen the Scholastic Books video of the forklift driver guy taking books from a pallet, and they ask him, what do you do for a living? He said, I help children learn how to read. Right? Doesn't matter what your role is here. I'd love a shorter mission, too. So Paul Quinn College in Dallas has a 3-word mission: to end poverty. Right? Reshape their whole institution. For contrast, businesses and schools are set up on middle-class mental models. Sometimes people get wiggy about that word in the middle, achievement. Put goals. If you're like, I'm not competitive and an achiever, sure. What do you talk about? Right? What do you talk about? Who's going to school? Where is this going to? I know some of you have heard my spiel before. I spent 17 years at Western in a retirement seminar. Poor people are not talking about the WRS. We are talking about it all the time. Well, I wonder if I could go at 55, if I could just find something about health insurance, and then I could solve that. I could have an entirely different career. You know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to work at Kmart, where I just move stuff, I get in shape, and I don't think. Right? I have heard that conversation. I have participated in that conversation. What you shouldn't say is, I'm going to be almost 50 and I'm going to change jobs and figure out how to get benefits in another state. There you go. That'll help you be a little more uncomfortable. So, but this is the mismatch. This is the mismatch. We have an institution set up on middle-class norms that serves people who have a whole different set of norms. Neither better nor worse, by the way. I don't have enough time today to do all my disclaimers, but let me give you 2. One, poor and middle class is not bad and good. Some of the most beautiful people I know are people who have nothing. Right? People I grew up around, the most generous people I know are people who have nothing. Right? That's a byproduct of that, by the way. That's how you survive in a relational world. Right? Things are going good for me and Mike's struggling. I'm going to help him out. Because odds are, someday I'm going to struggle and maybe things are a little better for him. This world that's goal and achievement oriented is a little more individualistic. Right? So I think your work is to transfer the burden. Right? So my partner here at work for years has been Mandy Church Huffman. We have had an ongoing conversation, some of them very loud. But one of the more pleasant ones we've had is we talk about our kids all the time. We don't have kids together. We each have separate kids. Thank you. Just for the English teachers. But her 2 older sons are both students here, and my daughter's off to college. And guess what? They don't need much. Mom went to college. Dad went to college, both families. Shoot, her kid's going to Western. Their mom works at Western. They're going to get through. And I would argue, and I love Hannah. I love Cameron. Those are my kids, not Mandy's, because she has boys. If she had a boy named Hannah, that would be weird. But cool. Is that we don't learn much from my kids either. Right? You do wonderful work for people. Ben and Jake Huffman were going to get through Western pretty much no matter what. But the students who come to us who don't have all that, they teach you how to get better, right? So this thing about serving people in poverty isn't just nice, right? It's not just pleasant. It's good business, right? It's a talent pool other people aren't tapping. It's a community that when my college or this college says, we can solve this, we can teach anyone, nobody talks about enrollment anymore. So, a couple more, and then we'll talk about some action. These are, like the mission statement, these are ones I read because these matter. There are 4 tenets of what I call poverty-informed practice. Poverty-informed practice is a mindset that allows us to stand in awe of our students who face the impacts of poverty daily and choose college anyway. When I was a new administrator at Western, I believed there was a secret place called the Ready Place, right? So I would meet students. They weren't really up for it, right? They had stuff. I'd say, come on back when you're ready. There is no ready place. You are the ready place, right? I used to tease my front office staff here all the time. You are now used car salesmen. Nobody gets off the lot, right? What do I have to do to put you in a class today, right? Because you're going to stay, because there's no oven that you go tune up a little bit in. The world's a rough place, and the world changed. So 40 years ago, there were good options for non-college graduates, for people without post-secondary training. Not too many left, right? The story's getting a little old, but my dad graduated high school in 1968. About half his class at Little North Crawford High School moved to Janesville because they were going to go work at General Motors. Those are great jobs. Gone, right? That level of employment. So when it turned into a college for all world, we can no longer talk about students ready for college. We have to talk about being student-ready colleges. With a shout out to Western, poverty-informed practice is a form of first-choice service, acknowledging the audacious courage it takes to pursue education when even your basic needs are tenuous. I remember the day I met my first homeless student. I was out walking the neighborhood because we were starting to have a larger group of people who are homeless around our campus community, and rather than be frightened of them or not know what to do, I wanted to go engage them. There's a longer, funny story about how bad Mandy and I were at doing that, but we got better. And I met a young man down on Fifth Avenue and started talking to him. And when we said, have you ever thought about coming back to school? He said, well, I go to school. Oh, where? At Western. I want to be in the paralegal program, but I'm brushing up right now. And it hit me, right? This young man was in my classrooms, in my area. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. How courageous is that, right? How amazing. I was thinking of Dylan in the video, the gentleman we met this summer that came back from the jail. The first place he went in his winter coat with no shirt was Western Technical College. That's pretty amazing. That's a lot of responsibility. I think that poverty-informed practice is a commitment to reducing barriers for students so they can use their education to change their economic reality for social mobility. This is the part where people start to get kind of squishy, right? Oh, Chad, we're enabling. I threw out the word enabling a while ago. Pretty sure it's equivalent to helping, and I'm pretty sure I enable the hell out of my kids, right? I do. I told you, I want to kill the oldest one. Let's get her out of the house and enable her up to Eau Claire. But help is good. Everyone needs help. It's just for a lot of us, the help was built in. We don't recognize it as such, right? So I actually thought about coming in today and just not going any further than telling you that this poverty-informed practice stuff is about leveling the playing field, helping students see their strengths, and getting students to believe in themselves. As in the La Crosse Tribune last week, that's your new Dean of Learner Support and Transition. So you're in good shape. And the last one, and I always give the same disclaimer on this, I swear to God, I'm like Norwegian German. I have drifted, but I was raised Lutheran. We don't hug at my house. My kids are aware that I love them, but we don't feel like a need to speak that on a regular basis. So it's implied. But I've made a choice to be a little uncomfortable at work and talk about love. Right? Poverty-informed practice is an intentional choice to love the students you have. Not like, not admire, sure not feel sorry for. To love. Because when you love people, you do things differently. Right? What would you do for people you love? So some of you are parents. There's nothing I wouldn't do. You might be a sibling. You might have someone you love as a friend. Love is transformational. And I'm not telling you to be Amarillo College. I'm just telling you that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from. They talk about it every day. It's like on every marketing thing. It seems goofy, right? This very professional higher education opportunity. I love you. You love me. But really, what's more powerful? So one of the things they say down there, and I'll put this on your discomfort list, that's hard work, right? That's hard work. And that's policy at every level, right? So I heard really cool stories at Western before I left. I heard students on clinicals where there are very strict policies and rules. I heard about a student who was maybe not going to be able to continue because they had been late too many times, and their instructor and their associate dean asked deeper questions and found out that student had some agency time at a housing place because they were homeless and doing clinical. And the people at Western loved the student more than the policy and found a way, right? I've seen instructors wrestle with attendance, right? Attendance is hard, right? Obviously, I would assume that most of you assume your students benefit from being present in your courses. If not, you should have some conversation about that. But what's reality, right? Does your policy reflect an expectation that you wouldn't hold yourself to? When I worked here, I could call in sick, right? There were ways to figure that stuff out. So I don't have easy answers on loving your students more than your policies. I'm just challenging you to get uncomfortable, right? To get in those gray places. Because I think, well, if you're going to design the perfect policy chart, you should go on a speaking tour, right? Write the book. You'll get it. You'll make a fortune. Or you do the hard work. Because option C is to sit at 11%. And one of my personal missions is we cannot nationally continue to commit malpractice at that level. We cannot send career coaches into high schools and sell the promise of this place and know that if we don't do it differently. So let's talk about what we can do. Dr. Stanford is a visual management guru. I picked up on that when I worked here. You pushed us all to do visual management. I am the least visual human being on planet Earth. I am all words all the time, so I made him a triangle. It's the best I could do. But we tried to boil it down. And you probably can't read all that, and I'm going to go through them a little bit. But just taking a look, I think the triangle's designed the way it is on purpose, and yes, I am this short. 5'8", though, right? I'm just widening as the years go by. We put basic needs at the bottom because they're fundamental, right? So everybody who's a social media person, you got to do the Maslow before you do the Blooms, right? What can you do on campus to meet basic needs? And I'm going to challenge you to talk to each other about that in a little bit. If we go over to this side, and these things, by the way, here and here, that's not necessarily about what happens in the classroom. That's about what happens everywhere on campus. What are we doing to meet basic needs? You saw Carrie Rayburn in the video talk about you're going to have food all over your campus this fall, right? You're going to have hygiene products in your restrooms that people can just take. And there was a discussion just before I left. What about if people who aren't supposed to take them, take them? And there was so I'm telling you, 5 years ago, I'd have been a lone voice in the wilderness saying, that's okay, people that need things need things. Before I could get to my email, there were 5 emails from 5 different people saying essentially, who cares? Right? The black market for hotel shampoos and feminine hygiene is pretty limited, right? We're going to assume if somebody says they need something, they need it. But over on the left there, how can you be strengths-based? How can you take those students who are coming back to you, showing all that courage, and start your conversation with what's gone right, with what they've learned, right? With what they know. And there's deficiencies in it, right? So one of the big wins at Western in the last couple of years is the number of AccuPlacer testers, right? By the way, at the same time you're doing that, your graduation rate was going up. That's pretty cool, right? Because AccuPlacer is a tool, but it was really a tool to tell you, like, where your deficiencies were. People in poverty are keenly aware of where their deficiencies are. Confuse them. Go off balance. Talk about what they've done. Talk about what they've learned. I'd love to see you have a chart that talks about, oh, you did all this? That looks like this job, right? Start talking about careers and hope from the beginning. Belonging. Every second someone is on your campus, they are getting a message about whether they're supposed to be here or not. And if there's someone who grew up in poverty, they're expecting you to tell you they're not supposed to be here. They're waiting for that answer. You can lose them easy. I throw up the word self-efficacy because my friend Dr. Tanya Van Tall tells me that self-efficacy really matters. But you should be looking for places to build, I would think of it as belief. And then on the other side is where we start to get more into the academic stuff. How do we move people more quickly? I've listed CPL as a strategy. I'll talk a little bit about CPL. It's so powerful, right? It does 2 things at once. And just-in-time support, which can mean a lot of things. So let's dig in a little bit. When I left 2.5 weeks ago, one of the things I left behind was what our students affectionately came to call the bowl. It's that big blue-green. I only had an 8 crayon box as a kid, so I don't know if there's some other variation on what color that is. Found out a Youth Build student, had actually declined a pizza party. Right? So Jason and Sarah had brought in food. We're having pizza. It's a celebration day. And this young man said, pass. Right? When they pressed him on it, he said, I don't want my body and mind to get used to eating. Thank you. I couldn't take it. So I just started bringing in food. Thousands of dollars have come into our completely amateurish effort to just put no rules food in the lobby, right? And now there's going to be food around campus, supported by student government. People catch on to this stuff. And here's the other secret benefit. These students that have one set of expectations that maybe yours don't match, and they're very relationship-based, you know where a great place to build a relationship is? Around the bowl. I eat there all the time. Well, not anymore. I'd have to sneak on campus. They took my ID when I left, so but I'm really encouraged to see that. There are other basic needs. So I promised Jackie we'd be mildly interactive in a room of 400 people sitting in rows. If you could take just a couple of minutes, just with the people around you, and I'll give you one other idea, but I want you to think about what you could do. You don't have to have a food bowl, but there is a food pantry on campus. Faculty and learner support and transition put a basic needs statement in their syllabus, which simply says, if you are struggling with housing, with food, let us know, right? Doesn't say, I know exactly what to do. That does 2 things. One, it'll start teaching you and them about the resources on campus. You are a resource-rich campus. You are a resource-rich community. 2, it makes it normal. I'm not the one student, there's 5 students in the class who don't know where they're sleeping tonight, but nobody's telling each other that, right? Because we're ashamed. The shame is in deep. Oh, but my professor puts it in his or her syllabus. That must be a thing, right? People that go here must struggle with that, and it starts to open that up. So take a couple minutes and just talk with a neighbor about what you think you could do, not what someone else could do, what you could do in your role to help students get their basic needs met on campus. I'll give you about 2-3 minutes. And it doesn't mean you have to know exactly what to do. Now, you should do some work after today to figure out who to call. Right? As my friend Dr. Sarah Goldrick-Rab says, you don't have to be a social worker, but you better know one. Right? This is the business that you're in, unless you're comfortable with where you're at. Right? So, for those of you that are faculty, I always thought of this. This is a you're right moment, right? So I'm an academic administrator. I am again, and my faculty will work on teaching and learning and curriculum excellence and all those things. But you've also known that you don't lose students primarily because of the way you're teaching or because of the content of your course. You lose them to life, right? I've heard that message for years. So you're right. But you can't stop there, right? How do you know your campus resources? Trust me, this is a resource-rich community. This is a resource-rich college. And thankfully, when I'm on stage, I don't have to have arguments. Sometimes when people have me in smaller groups, though, we are not in social services, Chad. Okay. But then you're stuck where you are, right? If you want to do something different. So one of the best things we did in my time in learner support, and again, because I'm a policy guy, I really wanted to have some extra supports on campus, so we brought in someone from Workforce Connections into a vacant office that may or may not have been authorized by Wade Hackbarth. And then 2 years later, he said, who is in this office? I go, oh, they're doing good. They got FSET, they got WIOA. People are staying in school, Wade. And because Wade is somewhere to the north of sainthood, he said, well, we should retroactively figure out how to make that legal, Chad. So I am not encouraging illegality. I am encouraging you, though, to think about those solutions. So let's talk about, oh, I love this one. Where's Kelly Olson? I saw her here today. Kelly, are you in the room? Oh, there's Kelly. So, Kelly, I'm going to pick on you because I want you to change this after I leave. This is the door to Kelly's classroom in Black River Falls, and it's been this way a long time. She has a beautiful sign up there that talks about, she serves alternative high school students primarily. It has this motivational sign about which door opens your future, and it lists different kinds of post-secondary training. And a few years ago, the sustainability team came through and put a sticker under it that says, please keep door closed. It's kind of my literal representation of occasionally we send mixed messages. And I just couldn't bring myself to take it down, but I think it's been up for 5 years. So, Kelly, you don't take orders from me anymore, but if you want to peel one of those signs off, that would be great. So when we decided to turn into this notion of being more poverty-informed, one of the things we did, due to Kathleen's challenge, was I started with what I called a no audit, because I think it helped with a sense of belonging, a sense of belief. We started looking around our building for what were the messages going on. And I won't belabor this because some of you have heard it and some of you haven't. The big gray sign with the giant no underlined on it, research would tell us most people don't read anything beyond the word no on that. If you go out into K-12, they're doing all kinds of work on language in buildings about how many messages do we send that say no, don't, can't, no, don't, can't. I just saw a woman named Dr. Jody Gennardi from up in Duluth because she said you betcha a lot. Talking about eliminating those words. Those words create resistance. In and of themselves, they create resistance. So I went to start tearing these things off the walls. Jay McHenry's not big on me tearing stuff off walls. So apparently they're on there on purpose. Oh, and for the record, by the way, there's been food and beverage in those classrooms since 5 years before I got here. Tobacco, not so much. Marketing was very nice, helped us cover those up with like Western branded 2-word signs. Students noticed. Not all of them. I'll tell you the most vulnerable ones were the ones that told me they noticed. And Jamie Hansen did ask me, does that mean now we have tobacco use in what is now the Student Success Center? No, there's still no tobacco use there. You'll notice the other thing. We had the staff-only signs on doors everywhere. One, we were violating netiquette, right? It's all caps, so we are yelling. Those doors were locked, right? So we wanted to, not only have you jiggle the knob and realize you can't go in there, but we wanted a big sign that essentially said, "Stay out," right? We even had one on a bathroom, right? Because there was only we could use that bathroom. That was a little strange. So we started taking them down. Matter of fact, it caught on a little too much, and Jay and I he declared us an experimental sign zone last summer. I appreciated that. Oh, we had this one too. This is my favorite. This is on the inside it's on the second locked door you'd have to get through. It's staff only in caps, in red, and then because Chris Follansby made us, it does have Braille. Oh, the Braille translates roughly to "get out." One that's kind of fun. Sad, by the way, that I worked here for 15 years before I realized we were doing that. But what was cool about it is we started with an action, right? And it started to catch up. And it wasn't me, right? It wasn't the meetings where people turned and went, "Poverty. Good job, Chad. You keep going." They said, "Oh, I can do something." So I don't know how well you can read that, but my office staff started replacing these things. Better font and some direction. If you need to speak with someone, head for the front desk, and that's where it is, right? It starts to change how you interact with people. So think about that in your place of contact. You have to be in a pretty deep hole here to never see a student, right? What does your environment say, right? You have such a huge win going on with this remodel over here, right? Oh, and by the way, one of the giant wins of all time, and I'll take the blame if you want it, we're going to let students park out in front of that building. So, that's awesome, right? Yeah, I think I've been waiting a long time for, why were we getting all the prime parking spots? And and Darlene will go, "Is this the part where you tell us your wife works at Gunderson Lutheran and she parks in the back 40? No, I won't tell you that story again. But we could do better. This led to kind of a cascade of stuff. Our teachers' aides started going around classrooms and decided that the division that serves the most vulnerable students shouldn't look like a rummage sale, right? We had chairs that didn't match. We had tables that didn't match. And so Karen Duncanson and Leah Yang ran around moving stuff. I hired a lot of K-12 teachers here. Nobody squeezes a dollar harder than a K-12 teacher. So we had people were making pencil boxes in the middle of the table out of cut-off cereal boxes. Nope. We can order stuff, right? And so I started getting lists. And you can't necessarily do everything at once, but you could do that, right? And what is the message that it says? The research is clear on facilities. One of the great strengths you have at this college is your facilities, right? It's phenomenal here. How do you get the little parts right, too? The other thing we had to change, and that's just kind of fun, we love putting stickers on stuff, right? For years, right? I'm like, "Oh, it's sticker time. We got new books. We're going to stamp them and sticker them, and we're going to make sure you know whose property they are. They are the property of the Learner Support and Transition Division at Western Technical College." Take a poverty-informed minute. You go, "I don't think people were stealing our books from our reading program. And if they were, right? If they were stealing these very valuable GED books for the GED book black market, which also does not exist, no one who was actually doing that went, 'A sticker.'" I was going to go out the door, and then this sticker spoke to me. So basically, for the 99.9% of our students who weren't going to steal our books, we put some stickers on books that said, "We think you're a thief." For that 0.01% of students who were going to steal our books, we didn't stop them, right? And if some of my office staff or my former office staff is here, we spent hours, right? That is not a value-added activity, right? You have to make choices with your time reminding students not to steal stuff they're probably not going to steal, probably not the most efficient use, and telling students who are never going to take your things that you think they might, not very poverty informed. So again, let's just take 3 minutes. You can talk to the same people if you're having like introvert issues. I know when I tell you to turn and talk to people, or if you want to find somebody a little different. Again, not what you think the darn wellness center should do or those people on second floor in admin, but in your space, in your operation, so your classroom, your office. And remember, even if you think you are buried in the deepest, darkest corner of this institution and you will never see a student, remember those people getting up and down here. You are serving your colleagues too, right? How do you create that sense of welcoming? Because in your employee engagement stuff, that's a big part of what goes on. So take 3 minutes and talk about how you could work on creating a more belonging and belief type atmosphere. So this is big, right? This is big. When we started working on this in a more concrete way in learner support, we wanted to tie in to Western Strategic Plan. This is first choice service, right? And I'm not one of those people, I'm like a career educator, I'm not good at talking like a businessman, but I buy that 100%, right? That's customer service, that's first choice service, and it can happen, so you got every student every day. This could happen anywhere, anytime, right? And this starts to change your job. So some of you have jobs where you face a collection of students every day who ask you questions in varying levels of politeness and varying levels of knowledge. Now, what I always say about work, in a role like I'm in, I'm trying to go 3 for 5. 3 out of 5 days a week, I'm trying to look forward to coming to work. I'll live with 2 where I kind of go, ugh, right? I'm hoping you're closer to 4, right? One of the ways you can get there is to think about your work in a poverty-informed frame. What if instead of coming to work to get through whatever it was, or to answer the same stupid question for the 500th time, or try to explain what FAFSA is, and yes, you do have to pay that back, and all these sort of things, you decided you come to work to change financial reality for people you love. Pretty hard to have a bad day. Now, I don't recommend this, but I can tell you, I've always liked what I do for a living. Like, I'm really lucky. I'm a school teacher by training, so I make what feels like a fortune. But when I decided that I was coming to work every day to change reality for people I love, I came more often. My family would remind you, I think I worked, and I don't recommend this, 54 consecutive Sundays because it mattered, right? And I started to write stories about this stuff and put them in my very amateur way out on the internet because I thought it mattered. So for those of you, and I'm sure no one in here is struggling with their job, right? Because it's college day. It's always like the best day of the year. Everybody's fired up, and Dr. Stanford was on fire this morning. But on tomorrow, when you're starting to struggle, think about, right? What am I doing this morning? I'm going to change financial reality. I'm trying to increase social mobility for people I love. Right? That's a big deal. And it can happen anywhere. One last quick story about that sense of belonging. So just between us, I told you it took me 12 years to get through college. A couple stops in my mother's basement. There's a brief dating story in the middle of there that some of you know and some of you don't. I'll let you check in HR at some point. But anyway, thank you to those who know and are laughing. But when I went back to school the last time at Winona State University, in 1997, I was 27 years old, and the only other plan I had, by the way, was to come to Western and be a cop. I have no idea why I thought that was a good idea. Those of you that know me, I don't have a lot of cop coming off me, but for some reason, that was a backup plan. I'll go down to the technical college, I'm going to be a police officer. But you're welcome for making me that. But I went up there, and I had dropped out several times, and I'd been asked to leave a couple of times. It's a long story about anxiety disorders and trauma and all kinds of things. But I kept saying to myself, when I'm scared, I'm going to ask. When I'm scared, I'm going to ask. Because my history was I would just walk away, right? And I'm smart, right? I didn't drop out of college because I'm dumb. I'm pretty smart, at least for a guy from Cashton. And Cashton, I was real smart, but there's only about 8 of us, so me and Geraldine, we were like that. So, anyway, no offense to the other Cashton people, because this is as far as we all get. We make it to La Crosse. And I met a guy named Dr. Bob Herman, who I actually never took a class with, because it turns out somebody told me that actually apparently Dr. Herman wasn't a great teacher. But he was my advisor, and he had 225 advisees, which is probably the reason he didn't get tenure, because I'm not sure he spent enough time on his other stuff. But I would stop in Dr. Herman's office and tell him, I can't do this. I'm going to have to be something else, a bricklayer, a cop. It's embarrassing. I'm 28. I was supposed to be a genius 10 years ago, and here I am. And I'm a school teacher by training, right? So he said, same thing every time. The kids need you, Chad. Right? It was a throwaway line. I'm still telling you about it 20 years later. That interaction, the kids need you. And I go, yeah. And then somehow a bunch of 4th graders needed me a few years later, right? That small, right? Or I remember the person, I can't remember his name anymore, but I could draw him if I knew how to draw, but again, I don't do visual. He had a beard, and beards are cool, even if you can't grow one until you're 40. But he worked in the financial aid office, and I was scared. And to the poor kid, financial aid was a place you went when you were in trouble. And for the first time in all those years, for someone who defaulted on loans, who'd hung up on phone calls and avoided it, I just went in and said, help. I'm out of money. And beard guy, whose name I think might have been Greg, said, oh, we got money, right? He changed the whole deal. He saved the police force from me. Right? I do shudder to think what my life would have looked like in a world of satisfactory academic progress. You know, I have more credits than all of you, right? So I have a deep, rich experience, and so anyway. So I'm grateful to hear the discussion about it, because this part of the poverty-informed triangle belongs to all of you, right? And it belongs to you in relation to each other. Sometime get Mandy in a corner and tell her all the times I've come back to her office and told you how my feelings got hurt at a meeting, and she'll tell you, I don't get it, right? I got my feelings hurt once because I went to a fancy dinner with those of you that knew Doug Strauss when he was here, and Doug came from a little different financial background than I did, and when they served this very nice meal, I started putting salt and pepper on it as fast as I could. And it just won't make any sense to you unless you grew up poor. And he said, you're not even going to taste it first before you season it? It was an innocent comment. Doug was my friend. I was done. I was done. I'm lowbrow. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm going to go talk to the people that I identify with, right? Things that little, right? By the way, if any of you are still in touch with Doug, don't ever tell him that story. I never did. And I loved him. He just hurt my feelings about pepper once. So let's talk about the last third of it. I don't have a cute picture for this. Paula Freire, again, talks about this notion of tyranny of the moment. One of the struggles you are going to have serving students in poverty is that you sell delayed gratification to people who don't really have the luxury of knowing what that is. Come to Western. Well, so I'll tell you about old Western. Like, Western's so much better. You guys should, we're so much better than we were when I got here. It used to be, come on in here. We'll get you some remedial coursework. We'll tell you that you don't really know how to do math. We got 2 or 3 courses of that before you can do some stuff that counts. Then we'll get you on a wait list. Then we'll get you into a program, and 2 years from then, we're going to change your life, right? I have watched your evolution from they don't have time. Anybody watch Trevor Noah? You watch Daily Show? Yeah, he got that saying where he goes, ain't nobody got time for that, right? Now we're moving people because time is the enemy. When you don't have much, life's little things are huge things. Car trouble's a pain in the butt to a 49-year-old me. Car trouble when I was 27 was the loss of a job, maybe the loss of my home, right? That kind of tenuousness. And the longer we stretch things out, the odds of that stuff happening go up, right? That's life. So all the work you're doing to move people quickly, career pathways work, breaking things down into stackable certificates, finding the smallest piece of meaningful learning that starts to move you towards financial stability, that's huge. That's huge because we have to buy people some bandwidth. Right? I think it was Mike Peller who came to me and told me the whole bandwidth story. You know, we all have a finite amount of bandwidth. If I have to use 98% of it just to get here, why would we be surprised I don't have much left to give you? So how do we create bandwidth? That's that basic needs work, right? So you do smart things here already. The bus stuff, right? Free rides in the buses, although I will challenge you, go ride it. It's cool. It's not quite as cool as we think it is because the bus is a pain to get around on. And interestingly enough, even students know, and there's weird people on the bus. So you could have a project on campus. You could go unweird the buses, right? I mean, you guys are just regular weird, so go get on a bus, right? Plus, you might build community there. But you need to move people towards stability quickly. Quickly. They need a win. They need a win. So that's what you build. And that notion of just in time. So of all the things I was involved in over 17 years here, that was probably the toughest change and the most meaningful one, right? So I was the owner of a system of care that I was really proud of that didn't work, right? We worked our tails off in developmental and remedial education. We worked our tails off to get people through that GED and celebrate the GED graduation. And then we had to have a reckoning. When we looked at, in the old version of developmental education you had here, about 30% of your students were going to go on and do something. And the most startling statistic was that actually, if you just put people in without doing anything else, and thank God you've done other things, the number was also in the 30s. I was pridefully running an area that might have been worse than not doing anything. So to watch the transformation of what the folks in learner support do to go, and I just picture them like this, right? Or I worked with Amy Delagrave for years, and she always talked about being the goalie, about keeping people on the ice, right, Amy? Right? What am I doing? I'm trying. That's the work, because that's the stuff that gets in the way. What do I do at that moment? And we've called it lots of things over the last 4 or 5 years. We talked about first term, first hurdle. We did all that work through Achieving the Dream. It's all in there, but you've been on a path to just in time. And that's not just academic. Great work here on emergency funds. And thank you again. I was number 22. I was honorable mention all conference back in the day. Although it was cashed in and there were like 5 guys. But so anyway, emergency funds are just-in-time support, right? How do you find places to catch people just then? How do you duplicate Bob Herman, who could keep me on campus with 4 words? The kids need you, right? What's the equivalent of that? So, 2 things, then I'm going to ask you to talk about this a little bit, and I'm cognizant of my time. Everyone needs help. You just don't see it for lots of people because it's built in. It's not true for folks in poverty. You have an ability to level the playing field. And don't bargain for equity. The WTCS sent me to a Jobs for the Future conference this summer, and I know everybody loves to hear about the conference the administrator went to over the summer. But I'll tell you something anyway. They stood up in front, and I saw myself in that. That when I would talk about trying to get people what they need, I would try to take care of you and say, oh, but it won't harm you. Right? It won't, by the way. But why do we feel the need to say that? Why did I feel the need to tell people we are going to serve the neediest people and the valedictorians, right? I am bargaining with people of privilege. I shouldn't have to reassure them. My Hannah, Mandy's, Ben, and Jake, they're fine. Don't tell them they'd be fine even if they got a little less. But it's not a zero-sum game. There's enough. There's enough. Dr. Beagle, one of my heroes, reminds me every time I see her. Last year in America, Americans spent $1 billion on fireworks. Right? Fireworks are cool, but there's enough. So don't get distracted by the terms we love to throw around. In an era of finite resources, it's an era of choices, right? And the folks you're serving here will teach you things that benefit all those students. And rather than make you talk to each other again, I'm going to close with just a couple of things. I know Dr. Lineker shared it before, but I'll tell you again. My heroes at Amarillo College were worried about achievement gaps, just like Western is. They did two things, one of which you're in the middle of doing. They went poverty-informed, hardcore. They also cut all their courses to 8-week courses. You can have that discussion another time. But they closed their achievement gaps. Not narrowed them, closed them. And achievement for everybody went up. Every group, they were doing it by race at that time. Every group's achievement went up. So it works. Little things. Little things. I walked around the room, we were talking about how to create a sense of belonging. I heard some cool suggestions. Some of them could be tiny. Somebody told me, take the flowers off the pens. Quit acting like everybody's going to steal your pens. Pens are like loaves on the water. I just cast them out and they come back, right? We actually had spoons on them in learner support. One said, I licked this. Humorous, not very poverty-informed. I also heard a suggestion. We're talking about where are we creating perceptions that students are going to do the wrong thing. I know you got a beautiful remodeled building over there and you're figuring out what your learning common space looks like. One of the things that was on my list of things to think about, we've always gated that with security. Do we have stats on book theft? Were we spending more on security and losing more in belonging than maybe we would if we just had, well, Juan used to work up there. If Juan would just guard the door? No, but those sort of considerations. So I'll close with this. That's real quick. That's what acceleration looked like in learner support. We committed to credit for prior learning and issued over 300 credits to students who didn't have high school diplomas last year. It was work, but it wasn't like we had to have a 5-year plan to do it. Mandy said so. It was mandatory, as we called things in learner support. It's amazing what that does for people. Those kind of acceleration tactics, one, they save people money. That's the basis of poverty, right? 2, I belong. I'm a college student. The things I did count, right? And I move people along quickly. So I will close by telling you these things. I am asking you to default to action, default to helping. I always think about the airport where if you see something, say something. How about if you see something, do something, right? I want you to challenge yourself to look for bias. By the way, we have a sneaky name for bias. We call it common sense. I never say common sense except in presentations. Common sense is just a collection of things that a group agrees on that excludes another group. So when they say common sense, you should say common to whom? You're welcome, English teachers. I practiced that one. But you should check, and the way to check for it is ask yourself one question. What does someone have to do to be worthy of my help? Seems like an innocuous question, but when you start to answer it, you will find your biases. Do you require an extensive amount of gratitude for people to get what they need? Right? Is the system support for regular folks? But I was saying, Wade and I had a great meeting this spring, and we were going to take care. He said, but I heard Chad say, poor folks get charity, right? Middle-class people get the system is set up for them, the norm, and then we grab Mike Swenson and his checkbook and say, Mike, could you cover this stuff for people, right? We should be challenging ourselves to make the norm bigger. In your work, seek to connect, build relationships, and create solutions. There is nothing easier, right? Criticizing is the lowest form of participation. I know this. I'm great at it, right? I'm asking you to shift, to be solutions-oriented, to be a positive person, to realize all the resources you have, all the opportunities you have to change generations, right? How cool is that? And I'm challenging you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I worked at Western for 17 years. I loved it here. I love you guys, right? Now I'll tell my kids tonight too. Quinn made me promise I'll go home and hug them and tell them I love them. But, right, it was the best work that I've done. But I knew on a personal level I needed to get more uncomfortable. It's in deep here. I can feel you guys. You're rolling, right? And this stuff is bigger than your college, than my new college, than all of it. This is the solution, as close as I can come in my sphere of influence, to what troubles the larger us. So it's worth it, right? It's worth it to put in the time, to get uncomfortable, to wrestle with the hard questions, to stay in those conversations. I stood on this stage last August and I invited you to join a movement. I'm back, right? I'm supposed to be somewhere else today, but I was glad to be invited back. Because I think, and it's easy to be cynical about that stuff, the movement has commenced at Western. You are turning to the people that need you, and you are going to do amazing things. It's already showing. If you want to stay connected with me, that's my contact info. If you're a LinkedIn person, I still write in an incredibly amateurish way about what I'm doing with poverty work and what we'll do at our new college. I invite you to become the second most poverty-informed college in America, because the most poverty-informed will be about 30 miles up the river. But in sincerity, we should be in partnership. We are in this for the same people, for the same reasons. It's been the privilege of a lifetime to work at Western, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to come back today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Chad. Should I tell the story? No. I really want to thank Chad for coming back. We all know first days at a new position are very busy and demanding. So for you on day 2, I think, to come back here, we really appreciate it. One of the things we had planned for this afternoon was a series of breakout sessions for staff. Tomorrow, faculty will participate in it in the afternoon after your all instruction in the morning. But one of the important feedback pieces was, with all the moves and the things going on, we just needed to be able to breathe this afternoon. And so we decided that we will reschedule for staff the breakouts for this afternoon into fall, so like October. And a piece of it that Chad talked about were knowing your resources. So we want to make sure that we get that information out. So some of the pieces we will share with you electronically, and know that you have a lot of resources over in the Student Success Center. So just keep that in mind, but we will build on this. It's just, we wanted to be mindful of the moves. So just from the standpoint of the rest of the day, there's lunch provided in the courtyard for all of us, okay? So that's our kind of back for fall lunch. And then this afternoon, the college is closed to the public. But we are all just going back to our spaces to move, maybe put together desks if we need extra help. There might be a few that, Roger, can you do that? All right, Roger's gonna help. And then, so all instruction meets tomorrow morning back here, okay? So all instruction and faculty, you have your breakouts in the afternoon. So keep that in mind. If you have questions, who should we have them call? Darlene? not Darlene. Darlene does not want to take any questions. Call me. Okay, I really want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everybody who put this together and all of their hard work. If you have garbage around you, please pick that up and bring that to the back to help out. And it takes a little while to get through the line for food, so maybe some people go to the restroom first. Thank you, everybody.